Clarence, we got a big game coming up this weekend, obviously, for the Cowboys in terms of the implications. They just need to go to Washington, take care of business. They get the number 2 seed if they do. Couple of home playoff games. You guarantee you can avoid the San Francisco 49ers until at least the NFC Championship game. So in a lot of ways, this is setting up for a lot of playoff success. So with that in mind, how much pressure do you think is on Mike McCarthy heading into this playoff run? Is there anything that he's being evaluated for at all? Or do you think, hey, this is just they're happy. They've shown 3 years in a row what a consistent football team they are, and they're going to kind of let the chips fall where they may come postseason time?
Well, I mean, I think, there's a little bit of everything here with the Cowboys, with Mike McCarthy, with Dak Prescott. I mean, clearly, if they go 12-5 in 3 straight seasons, that's a great job. But that's a great job done by Mike McCarthy and what he's done, and having to navigate things. Even last year, I mean, you lose your quarterback, and we see how teams perform when they lose their quarterback. You certainly saw that in New York. You lose Dak for 5 games, you still end up with a 12-5 record. He doesn't get enough credit for managing that team last year to get to 12-5 after losing your quarterback. And if you do that 3 straight years, that's a feather in his cap, starting new offense and everything he's had this year to do that. But at the end of the day, Mike McCarthy was brought here to win in the postseason. He was brought here to take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. And, it all depends on how they perform. A one and a done, so there's a lot of pressure and a lot of blame will be placed on the coaching staff and even on Dak Prescott if they go one and done. But especially when there's been so much talk about not being able to win on the road, and you do have the benefit of now most likely having 1, possibly 2 home playoff games, and you don't get it done. That's heads could roll for sure. I think Dak is back. He's played well enough. He's gonna get his contract, but Mike McCarthy, especially with so much talk about DQ possibly leaving, it could fall on his lap. So, it's a big postseason. But again, it's a big postseason with Dak. We all know the legacy of the quarterbacks here. You got to win the playoffs. And as well as he's done, that's the knock. And we're going to continue to move the envelope, move the goalposts with Dak. You got to win the post. He's got a great regular season. He's not a turnover-prone quarterback anymore. He's not an interception quarterback anymore, but he still has not done it in the postseason. So what's he going to do here this year?
Have we oversold the psychological hurdle that San Francisco is for this football team, or do you think that's a real factor, that this team really does have some psychological hiccups with that football team?
Yeah, I think it's oversold. It's certainly, you look back at those games, and we act like it's really the playoffs. I mean, what happened this year, I don't know what happened, that blowout. But both games are one-score games. Those 2 playoff games are one. I mean, people act like they were just non-compete, in the playoff games. That's not true. Those games were there to be won. Especially last year's game was there to be won to a certain extent. Those are one-score games. So it's not like the 49ers on another level. And certainly you saw what Baltimore did to them. They're not unbeatable. They can be bullied. You just need to bully the bully. But the good news for the Cowboys is just take care of your business. Kind of what they've done. I like what they've done this year. And we kept asking McCarthy about looking around. And, I'm not looking around to look at 11 wins. And, we're focused on us. And, Dak said, they're running their own race. Run your own race in the playoffs. Just focus on winning your 2 home games. And if you look up, somebody may have said the 49ers have 3 home games. You don't know. We don't need to worry about the 49ers at this point. Let's look at the home field advantage. Or if they win the division when they have the 2 home games, just focus on those 2 home games. You look up, and if you get an NFC Championship game in San Francisco, let the chips fall where they may. If not, somebody may upset them.
Yeah, Clarence, I mean, I can make the case that the Cowboys outplayed San Fran in the playoff game last year outside of the interceptions. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a discrepancy. This year it just throws everything off. But, if they do make the conference championship game and they lose again to San Fran, is that the only way that Mike doesn't return, is if a 3rd loss is to San Fran, assuming they make the NFC Championship game? A 3rd loss to San Francisco then?
If they make the championship game, who are you getting? Why would you get rid of Mike?
I agree. I'm just saying, if you lose to the same team 4 times in a row.
Well, I mean, maybe that team is just better. Sometimes you just have to tip your cap to the other team, if that's the case. Because if this Cowboys team, which has not gone to the championship game since 1995 or 95 season, gets to the championship game, no one's head's rolling. If you get that far, no one's head's rolling. You have to be appreciative of what the journey and what they've done. But you get that far, I don't think you can blame Mike or anybody else. Just tip your hat to the other team that they may just have a better squad at that point. But let's find out. That would be so delicious to be able to find out. It's so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I've covered this team since 1997. You guys have been there right there a long time. Just let them get to the championship game. That'll be fun.
Clarence, there was a lot of talk after the Miami game about why did you go 2.5 quarters without getting the ball in your best player's hand? Like CeeDee Lamb seemed to be an afterthought in that game. Jerry Jones came on with us that following Tuesday and said, yeah, I don't really have an explanation for that. I'm not sure. Then they go out there in this game against Detroit. He gets 17 targets. He is clearly so important to what they do offensively. But this is twice now, San Francisco and Miami, where he doesn't seem to be enough of a priority. He has to kind of raise a fuss about it, and then they come out there and they recommit to him. Do you think that's going to be an issue at all the rest of the season, or do you think the Cowboys realize, hey, we can't have this happen again?
Yeah, I pushed back on they didn't try to get the ball to CD. There were some blocking issues in that Miami game during those quarters, and if you look at, they were backed up. It was just they didn't have the ball a lot. It was some issues there that slowed them down. There's no way they don't want to get the ball to CD. There's no way Dak is not trying to get the ball to CD. There's no way Dak is ignoring the CD, especially after the run they've been on since the San Francisco game. And I don't think they went to Miami looking to not get the ball to CD, certainly after the way he started and certainly the way he finished. We were talking to Dak, after the Detroit game, and he said they kept playing man. He said that he didn't understand what they were doing. He said that, a couple of times at the Detroit game they were playing zone, especially because CD started out so well in the Detroit game, and then you really didn't get back to him until the fourth quarter when, they started playing man again. He was laughing at the fact that how they were playing them. So certainly depends on the coverage, but there's no question that CD is a big part of this offense. CD is what makes this offense go in a passing game. But what I like is that as much attention that they've given the CD and get the ball to CD, the last two games when they needed clutch plays in the fourth quarter, they got the ball to Brandon Cooks, and he made plays, and he came down with plays. The fact that they have a complement somewhere else to go where they need to make plays in Brandon Cooks as a number two receiver. He's been such an addition, complement as a number two receiver. And we started the season wondering why they not getting the ball to Brandon Cooks.
Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, joins here 105 through the Fan. All right, what's the deal with this Mazi Smith weight loss? We talked about this with Patrick Walker a little bit yesterday. I mean, are they just trying to make him, so they can play linebacker, just replace him with Bell? What are they trying to do there?
First of all, they're not trying to help him lose weight. I think that's Mazi, the season or whatever else, a young guy and trying to handle his diet and whatever else in the season. But weight loss is not weight loss. They did not draft him in the first round to be under 300 pounds and not be a wide body nose tackle, one technique, run stuffing animal with benches 700 pounds. And he's not shown that, and that's a disappointment. That's a huge disappointment. They don't want to say it out loud, but come on. We talked on draft night. I went back and looked at all the coaches on draft night, and they said my number one job is to stop the run. My number one job, I'll learn how to rush the passer. We have some pass rush technique. But Mike McCarthy talked about, we can rush the passer and we can turn the ball over. We can't stop the run. And this guy is a perfect fit for us. And what do we have? What do we see? What is he giving the Cowboys? Nothing. Chill. And that's a huge disappointment.
Chill, do you think that, obviously a disappointment there. Do you think their disappointment is sincere enough that they have regret at this point, or that you think like, hey, if we had a do-over, maybe we look at things differently. Maybe we go ahead and take Berger on the offensive lineman. Or do you think they're still, high on what he can be into the future?
Well, first of all, we know the Cowboys, they're stubborn with their draft picks, right? Mm-hmm. They were stubborn with Tucker. They're stubborn with their disappointments until they have to, cut bait, But you can't tell me that they don't regret or not disappointed, didn't expect more. They did not expect Jonathan Hankins to have to be their Vita Vea. I mean, we love Jonathan Hankins. He was brought here as an afterthought last year to help show up to run defense. they gave up, Oakland, the Raiders were basically gave him away because he wasn't playing. But for him to have to come in and be the savior at nose tackle because the guy you drafted to replace him can't hold up, not get up the ball. The biggest regret to me is that you draft a guy who played a scheme in Michigan that doesn't get off the ball, and now you expect him to do something that he hasn't done before. And not used to doing, and you see how slow he is off the ball. I don't know how you change that.
Did they talk to Dalvin Cook?
Guys I talked to said they were doing their homework. I don't know if they got to the point of calling him, but I know that they were evaluating him. The guys in the front office said they were evaluating him, and maybe I already had a deal done in Baltimore because he asked for his release, and clearly. You don't ask him really for one game to go if you don't have an idea where you want to go. And he totally went quickly to Baltimore.
Thank you, Chill. Appreciate the time, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.